Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. I am honoured to be joined by Mark Worrall. Mark is responsible for loads of books that have really enlightened me into the culture of being a Chelsea fan. It's called Gate 17 Publishings, and it really is worth checking out. He's bought us a selection of books. I've picked out my favourites, the ones that I've read over the years. And Mark has agreed, finally, I've been begging him to come on this channel for ages, but he's finally agreed to talk us through some of these books. So, these are my favourites. Over Land and Sea.
Yeah, that's quite dear to my heart. That was the first book that I wrote. I think that covers the first season that Roman Abramovich was the Chelsea owner, and it just shares the experience of being a Chelsea supporter, and it tells the story of the season from the perspective of being at all the away games in Europe that season.
Right. What? Yeah. So did you do a full house?
Yeah. So we ran. That was the Monaco disaster.
I know we should have won it that year.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, the expectation was kind of weird that season because Abramovich had come in with his money and started spending it, and nobody really knew what was going to happen because there was no precedent for it.
Do you know what I reckon? I reckon there's something reflective in our characters there. You refer to that year as the Monaco disaster.
Yeah.
I refer to that year as the Arsenal success.
The Arsenal success, that was a fantastic evening, which is described in great detail in that book.
Yeah, Invincibles, I don't think so. Yeah. I get a lot of grief on this channel for being too optimistic, and I think that there has completely reflected it. This is one of my favourites. Chelsea here, Chelsea there.
Well, that's about another day out at Highbury, and it really is just about one game. It was the first game back in the First Division.
What a goal.
Yeah,
what a goal
by I think it's probably my all-time favourite player, really, Kerry Dixon. Yeah, I mean, I love the bloke to bits, and it's sort of great to have got to know him through, after his playing career ended and having him involved in some of these books that we've done. But yeah, this really just tells the story of that day. There's interviews with all the players who played for Chelsea that day.
Our support that day was incredible, wasn't it?
It was phenomenal. Yeah, I think we had about 500,000 people in Highbury that day. If everybody that says they were there that day actually was.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think it must have been about 25,000.
Yeah, that's huge though, isn't it, to go away from home?
And I think the remarkable thing about, if you look at the way football supporters organise themselves today, social media, Twitter, Facebook, smartphones, WhatsApp, it's easy. You get sorted, you go to the game, you meet up, all the meets are sorted. None of that then. The M25 didn't even exist back in 1984. So, to get there for, I always get this wrong, I think it was 11:30 kickoff. Yeah. It's quite phenomenal.
Do you know what? That game, it really is worth checking this out. Get hold of this book. It really, really is. Great insight. But it's actually one of my favourite visions as a Chelsea fan. Obviously, this is way before my time. But the celebration, the end behind the goal, when Dixon scored that volley, what a volley it was as well. Yeah. The end, I don't know if I've ever seen an end celebrate like that. Yeah. It was crazy. Were you in that bit of the ground?
Yeah, it was in the clock end, I mean, in terms of my all-time, obviously the Drogba penalty in Munich, that is right up there. But I think, at the time I went to that game, I was in my early mid-20s, something like that. And obviously, Chelsea had just got back into the First Division after, being hopeless for a long time, which was a lot of fun. But, that was Chelsea are back.
Yeah, and really announced ourselves on the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
This one is one that's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
I have nothing but love and time and respect for all of the hard work that CFC UK do. You've written a book in their homage.
What this is, so I think everybody knows Dave Only a Pound Johnston.
Very much so.
So Dave obviously is the brains behind CFC UK,
oh dear.
Which I think we're up to issue 169 and 170 now. This book is a compendium of the first 50 issues. So it goes back to when the fanzine was called Matthew Harding's Blue and White Army. It's got Harry Moss on the cover, who's sadly passed away at the age of 96 a couple of years ago, but for many years he stood by the post box, not the post box, the BT phone box, just walking up past the Oswald Stoll Foundation on the Fulham Road, and he'd say, "New Chelsea book, £1."
Yeah.
And everybody loved him. So yeah, Harry's on the cover, and that's a really interesting. What's interesting about this is the period it covers. It's just interesting that Chelsea supporters still moan about the same things.
Yeah, it's very true. It's
yeah.
just it's the same old story, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, it's a really that is also a really interesting one. I certainly recommend getting hold of it. Now this one has a foreword by someone that you may have heard of.
Yeah, Super Frank. So yeah, making history, not reliving it. A decade of Roman's rule at Chelsea is just that. So it covers the 10-year period, first 10 years of Roman being the owner of Chelsea. It goes through each season. There's sort of anecdotal stories in there from a lot of Chelsea supporters who've contributed to the book. There's some great photographs that supporters have taken as well. There is a foreword by Frank in there. So yeah, I mean, it's quite a thick book, that.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's
So,
a fantastic one
yeah.
for your dad. Get that for your dad for Christmas. It really is great reading. And Kelvin and Dave Johnson both tell really good stories.
Yeah.
It's well worth a read. And now this one is also one that I'm very fond of.
This is an all-time classic.
So do we.
This is the biggest book about Chelsea ever written, and poor me, the publisher. Look at that.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's
full of detail. It's really interesting.
It actually came out at 800 pages. So when I first typeset it, and it actually Kelvin published it back in 2006. So we've literally just republished it a couple of weeks ago. And it's got additional interviews with Paul Canaville and Robert Isaac.
Yeah.
And obviously it's been brought up to date with what Kelvin's favourite players from that period of through the 1980s are doing now. So yeah, definitely recommended reading.
Yeah, it's well worth.
For all Chelsea supporters, you must have this book in your collection.
Absolutely, it's well worth getting hold of. If you want to get hold of these or any of the other books, just check out the description. I can't recommend them highly enough. It really is a fascinating.
www.gate17.co.uk.
Or far more importantly,
come to the
stall. Yeah, when you're next at the bridge, just cross over to the stall. When you come out of the station, it's on the opposite side of the road. You will find a whole array of fantastic characters and brilliant books on offer. But
and
it really
might do
is.
you a deal.
You never know.
Because it's Christmas.
They may do you a deal. It really is a fascinating insight into the culture of being a Chelsea fan and what being a Chelsea fan really does mean. So make sure you get hold of a book. Go on your Blues. Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. I've been fortunate enough to be joined by Mark Worrall, or Marco, as I'm sure many of you know him. Mark is responsible for the Gate 17 publishing house.